When Marcus Aurelius died, he had only one chest beside him. Inside that chest lay a journal, and within that journal, 10 sentences. 10 sentences unlike anything the world had ever heard. 10 sentences that carried the weight of an entire life. Simple, almost ordinary words, yet beneath them, entire universes of meaning. They sounded like mere motivation, the kind we scroll past without thought, but they were written with the ink of experience and pain. Marcus never wanted anyone to see them. He never spoke of them, because those words were not the emperor's voice. They were the man's, the voice of the human beneath the crown. He wrote them in the darkest, quietest hours of his life, not in war, but in silence. They were not the sweat of battle, but the record of fear, reflection, and suffering. They were fragments of his inner world. And before he died, he gave one final command: burn it. But one copy survived, the copy that still stands before us today, defying time itself. It waited for centuries for the right moment to be heard. And if you're watching this now, that means the moment has come. If you too believe you've arrived here at the right time, you can subscribe. Marcus's journal never spoke of triumph. Not once did he write about his victories, his throne, his wars, or his titles. He never praised himself. He despised self-praise. Instead, he wrote of his fears, his mistakes, his weakness. Because he knew. A man becomes wise only when he's honest about his flaws. And one who isn't at peace with himself can never bring peace to others. One night, he wrote, I realized there are 2 men inside me. One, the emperor standing before the world. The other, the student lost within himself. Marcus always saw himself as that student, a man whose lessons never ended. These 10 thoughts were his final lessons, the last pages of his study, though he never meant them for himself. They were written for us, letters meant to teach what is right, what is wise, what is human. But reading them wasn't enough. They had to be lived. Each idea was a test, a compass to be carried through life. These lost pages are the final map of Marcus's mind, a compass without roads, only directions. Silence, awareness, patience, acceptance, each one a step deeper into one's own darkness. Because no man can rule the world until he learns to rule himself. And Marcus knew this truth. Today, we open those hidden thoughts once again. Each one is a door. Behind one lies fear. Behind another, freedom. But behind them all echoes the same truth. Control your mind, or it will control you. These 10 lost reflections won't teach you anything new. They'll remind you of what you've forgotten. The mind is an empire, and you are its only guardian. If you're ready, open the first page. Among the ashes, the smoke still rises from a single line. True power is not in ruling, but in remaining silent. And thus begins the lost journal of Marcus Aurelius. The first line of Marcus Aurelius's handwritten pages read, True power is not in ruling, but in remaining silent. For an emperor, those words were like sheathing a sword. He knew that noise doesn't create authority. It only creates fear. But silence is not submission. It is mastery. It commands without demanding. And through that quiet command, he ruled Rome for 19 years. In his time, leaders ruled by shouting. Marcus ruled by listening. On the battlefield, while others barked orders, he waited, motionless, wordless. And that silence alone calmed his men's hearts. Even without speaking, he led them. Silence was his oldest discipline. As a young man, he talked too much, until he realized that words drain the mind's energy. From that day on, every morning began with one ritual: silence. Power, he learned, wasn't in raising your voice, but in mastering it. He called this inner authority. Before making a decision, he would sit still for minutes, Face unmoved, lips sealed. He knew reaction is weakness. Silence is control. Today, we can't stand silence. Every quiet moment feels like absence. We post, talk, and fill the void, because stillness feels like invisibility. But Marcus's silence wasn't hiding. It was transcendence. In that silence, his thoughts sharpened, his ego shrank, and his awareness expanded. There is wisdom hidden in silence. When a man stops speaking, he begins to hear himself. And once you can hear yourself, you no longer need the noise of others. Marcus's first lost lesson was this: stay silent, for words don't define you, they divide you. True power lies not in the crowds you command, but in the mind you can quiet. And from that day on, every Stoic began where he did, in silence, because silence is the breath before wisdom. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his journal, "The source of fear is not outside, it is within." Fear comes from the inner world. No force from the outside can truly frighten you, unless the voice inside gives it permission. Most men look for their enemies in the world around them. But for Marcus, the most dangerous battlefield was within his own mind, because there no sword can cut, no army can save. The only weapon that works is awareness. Fear is man's most loyal teacher, but the more you run from it, the more it grows. Marcus realized this early. One morning, before stepping into the Roman Senate, he took his pen and wrote a single line. Write down what you fear, for it already governs you. From that day forward, he began mapping his fears. The fear of losing the love of the people, the fear of defeat in war, the fear of death's silence. He wrote them all down, one by one. Then he stopped, looked at the page, and thought, if each of these is part of nature, why am I fighting against them? In that moment, he understood. Fear was not the enemy. It was the guide. A whisper that said, here is where you are still weak. Modern man runs from fear. But Marcus knew, the moment you run from it, you run from yourself. Fear is the mirror that shows you who you are. And without looking into that mirror, wisdom never comes. If fear shakes you, it means you are still alive. But if fear stops you, that means you are chained. Marcus's second hidden thought was this: do not run from fear. Observe it. Every fear you observe shrinks. Beyond fear lies another version of you, stronger, freer, more aware. And that version of you waits, patiently, behind the silence. Among all the words in Marcus's journals, one appeared more than any other: pain. Pain taught him the true nature of life. But he never saw pain as an enemy. He saw it as a teacher, a harsh but honest father, showing his child the real face of the world. He who runs from pain only delays the truth. He wrote one night, every battle brought him physical pain, every betrayal, spiritual pain, but he rejected none of it. Because for Marcus, pain was the language of fate. When the universe wished to speak to man, it spoke through pain. One day, lying sick in bed, he said to his generals, pain reminds me who I am. They didn't understand. To them, pain was weakness. But Marcus knew, the mind doesn't grow in comfort. It grows when it's shaken. Today, people chase peace, but growth hides inside discomfort. Pain is the seed of awareness. It breaks you, reshapes you, and forces you to see what remains when all else falls. Marcus called this process the reforging, because just like iron, the soul must enter fire before it becomes a sword. A Stoic doesn't resist pain, he observes it. He follows it in silence, asks not why me, but what is this teaching me? Because pain doesn't come to punish, it comes to purify. Marcus's third hidden thought was this: pain is the educator of the soul. Don't fight it, learn from it. With every wound, he grew wiser. With every loss, freer. Because hidden within pain was a secret. It never comes to destroy you. It comes to rebuild you. Every ache you feel today may become the mortar of a stronger mind tomorrow. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize pain never broke you. It was protecting you all along. There was one sentence that echoed constantly in Marcus Aurelius's mind. You cannot change the order of the universe, but you can learn to live in harmony with it. That was his quietest yet heaviest realization. As an emperor, he could command everything, armies, laws, men. But over time, he understood there was one thing he could never rule, the flow of life itself. One morning, heavy rain forced him to cancel a ceremony he had prepared for weeks. Everyone around him was frustrated, but Marcus simply lifted his eyes to the sky and smiled. Later that day, he wrote in his journal, "Nature reminds me, I do not rule, I adapt." From that moment on, his leadership changed. He stopped trying to control events and started trying to understand them. Every misfortune became a message. Every loss, a lesson. Every delay, a preparation. Modern man is still fighting battles that Marcus ended centuries ago. We plan, predict, and force every outcome, believing that control brings peace, but it doesn't, because the universe's plan is far greater than ours. And true peace begins the moment you realize that. Marcus's fourth hidden thought was this: do not control, observe. Do not resist, understand. For what you understand can no longer control you. Control is born of fear. Understanding is born of wisdom. A Stoic knows that no storm lasts forever, but fighting the storm makes you part of it. So Marcus practiced one ritual every day. When something went wrong, he would breathe deeply and ask, "Is this within my control?" If the answer was no, he let it go, because resistance prolongs pain. But acceptance sets you free. He realized that life was never against him. It was guiding him. And that realization was the first step toward making peace with fate. Marcus Aurelius's hardest battle wasn't fought in Rome. It was fought within himself. If others could have seen that inner war, they would have dropped their swords and joined his side. He discovered a truth that shaped his life. A man cannot rule the world, but he can rule his mind. And the one who rules his mind rules his destiny. That was the oath of his inner army. Because emotions are like untamed horses. One drags you to anger, another to fear, another to greed. If you don't hold the reins, they tear you apart. For Marcus, the mind was a fortress, and reason was its gatekeeper. Whenever a thought entered, he asked, "Does this serve me, or does it weaken me?" If it weakened him, the gate closed. This wasn't suppression. It was leadership. A Stoic doesn't kill emotion. He trains it. He doesn't erase fear. He directs it. Because emotions aren't enemies. They are energy. And the one who channels that energy shapes the world. Today, people are slaves to their emotions. A comment, a word, a glance, and they collapse. Marcus called this mental slavery, because the one who cannot control his emotions is forever a puppet in someone else's hands. His fifth hidden thought was this: do not silence your emotions, educate them, for an emotion left unchecked will one day destroy its master. Many tried to provoke him, but Marcus never shouted back. He stayed silent and observed, because he knew emotion speaks, but reason decides. Every burst of anger, every spark of fear, every shadow of anxiety you feel today is simply an untrained soldier in your inner army. Don't suppress them, discipline them, because the mind is an army, and order begins the moment the commander falls silent. That was Marcus's secret. He found freedom not by suppressing emotion, but by understanding it. One night, he wrote, "When my mind is still, The world cannot harm me. That was his definition of true freedom. One of the ideas Marcus Aurelius pondered most was time. For an emperor who ruled everything, it was the one thing he could not command. He had armies, wealth, and power, but not control over a single second. One night, sitting beside a campfire, he wrote, "You cannot control time. But when you control yourself, time begins to serve you." He knew how quickly time slips away, but he realized that people don't lose time. They simply forget how to live within the moment. Most live trapped in regret for the past or anxiety for the future. But life can only ever be lived now. In his journal, he wrote, "Do not fight the shadow of the past. Do not chase the fog of the future. If you can breathe today, this is your empire." Time isn't managed with clocks. It's managed with awareness. Every morning before sunrise, Marcus sat in silence, listening only to his breath. It wasn't meditation. It was remembrance. A reminder, I exist right now. Modern man kills minutes on a screen, but loses sight of moments in the soul. Marcus saw this centuries ago. Time does not favor those who speak. It listens to those who are silent, because only in silence can you hear it. His sixth hidden thought was this: time is not yours, but the moment is. Every second is a gift, but the one who doesn't notice it loses eternity itself. Marcus's strength was this: he did not mourn the past, nor pray for the future. He lived only in the present. When a man lives in the moment, time no longer frightens him, because time does not pass. We do, and the one who truly notices the moment is the one who truly lives. Even on the battlefield, Marcus Aurelius remained silent. Amid chaos and blood, he held his composure. Soldiers shouted, generals barked orders, but Marcus only watched, thought, and breathed. He knew one simple truth: a talking mind scatters. A silent mind commands. Silence was his sharpest shield. Neither anger nor fear could pierce it, for silence gives clarity, even in the most vulnerable moments of the soul. He once wrote, "Silence is not escape. It is the art of standing still in the middle of war." For him, silence was not avoidance. It was strategy. Modern man cannot stay silent, always surrounded by noise, music in the ears, screens in the hands, thousands of voices in the head, but we fear silence. Because in silence, we meet ourselves, and not everyone is brave enough to look into that mirror. Marcus began every morning with 15 minutes of silence. No orders, no questions, just observation. In that quiet, his thoughts untangled, and his mind found order again. For a Stoic, silence is not weakness. It is discipline. Speaking is easy. Staying silent is mastery. Marcus's seventh hidden thought was this: the one who remains silent begins to hear himself. Silence is the doorway to awareness, and the one who walks through it can no longer be shaken by the noise of the world. That person discovers a center within, a fortress no one can enter. Marcus described the balance this way: silence is the breath of thought. That's why whenever a crisis arose, he stayed quiet before he spoke, because silence sharpens the mind, and a clear thought cuts deeper than any sword. Silence protects you from the chaos outside, but also lets you hear the whispers within. That's why silence isn't armor, it's guidance. Marcus's silence was powerful enough to rule Rome, and he always remembered, kings are crowned by words, but only silence makes them wise. Today, speaking doesn't make you greater. Silence makes you deeper. And one day, when you finally grow quiet, the world will speak to you for the first time. In his final years, Marcus Aurelius awoke one morning, feeling his body weaken. That day, he wrote, "Death is not the opposite of life, it is a part of it." It was his quietest, yet most profound realization, because only wisdom can remove the fear of death. and Marcus had climbed to the highest step of that wisdom. Even while ruling Rome, he thought of death, but that thought never darkened him. Instead, it sharpened his vision of life. Each morning, he reminded himself, today could be your last. So why waste it on anger, ambition, or fear? For Marcus, death was not a failure. It was a change of duty. Just as a soldier passes his watch to another, man passes his watch back to life itself. So he did not flee from death. He accepted it, spoke with it, and eventually befriended it. Modern man fears death because he does not truly live. He postpones his dreams, suppresses his feelings, ignores his calling. He fears death not for what it takes, but for what he never dared to begin. Marcus's eighth hidden thought was this: do not fear death, fear the moments you never lived. To a Stoic, death is a teacher. It whispers each morning, what will you do today to truly live? Marcus heard that voice daily, and that's why he acted with clarity, moved with calm, and lived with readiness. He did not fight death, he sought balance with it. For to reject nature is defeat, but to align with it is freedom. He wrote, when the wind changes direction, do not stop rowing, only change your course. Death was just another wind, and when it came, Marcus smiled. He knew it was not an ending, but a return, a duty completed, a soul returning to nature's embrace. The final line of the lost journal of Marcus Aurelius read, I cannot change the plan of the universe, but I can allow it to shape me. And behind the walls of his mind, while wars raged outside, there was peace within, because he had finally understood. Nothing is ever lost. Everything is as it should be. The journey began in silence and ended in acceptance. And his final whisper still echoes today. Everything happens as it must. Among his heaviest words, Marcus wrote, wherever fate takes you, go there willingly. This was not submission. It was will, because willpower is not about defying fate, but learning how to guide it. Will is man's greatest strength, yet most look for it outside themselves. Marcus knew the truth. No storm can overthrow a determined soul. It wasn't Marcus who ruled Rome. It was his will. Each morning he gave himself orders, and each night he questioned them. For to be honest with oneself is the first victory of all. His ninth hidden thought was this: will is not surrendering to nature's plan. It is learning to move in harmony with it. He accepted what he could not control and mastered what he could. He couldn't cure an illness, but he could choose his attitude toward it. He couldn't prevent betrayal, but he could control his response. That is where will is born, not from reaction, but from choice. He once wrote, if nature throws you into the fire, do not choose to burn, choose to shine. Today, we have forgotten this. We ask, why me? At every obstacle. But Marcus asked, what is this teaching me? Willpower is not bowing before fate. It is walking beside it, like a tree bending with the wind, but never breaking. In Marcus's world, will was the quietest, yet most enduring force of the mind. He wrote, fate will test you, but will defines you. And each morning, he rose not as emperor of Rome, but as a soldier of his own mind. Marcus Aurelius's final journal was written one day before his death. It contained only one sentence: the grateful man cannot be defeated. No storm can destroy the one who gives thanks. For Marcus, gratitude was not prayer, it was discipline. Each morning, he did not ask, why am I unhappy? But why am I grateful? Because gratitude clears the mind. It sharpens awareness, and a clear mind becomes a fortress no fear can breach. He wrote, a man's wealth lies not in what he owns, but in what he notices. Humans always chase more: a better house, a faster chariot, a greater title. But true wealth is what already rests in your hands. And the man who sees that truth finds peace at last. Marcus's 10th hidden thought was this: gratitude is the silent flame that lights the darkness of the mind. Even during war, he taught this to his soldiers. At the end of long marches, he said nothing. He simply broke his bread and shared it. That small act of awareness was his greatest lesson. As long as you are alive, you are still winning. Modern man has forgotten gratitude, always comparing, always wanting more. But Marcus warned that more is a trap. If you wake and draw a single breath, you already possess the greatest wealth. Gratitude is the quiet heart of Stoic strength. It needs no victory, only awareness. And the one who becomes aware realizes that nothing is missing. The final line of his final journal read, "The universe owes me nothing. I owe everything to the universe." Then he set down his pen. No fear remained, no regret, only peace. Because he had finally learned the rebuilding of the mind ends with gratitude.